Alrighty, squad, let's continue our discussion on the cell here. So let's talk about the parts of an animal cell. So there's the cell membrane and the cytoplasm. Let's focus right on this cell membrane right now, and we'll get to the cytoplasm here. So the cell membrane is pretty much the boundary between the ECF and the ICF. So that's the extracellular fluid, and the intracellular fluid pretty much says what can and can't enter into the cell. So it is selectively permeable. So sometimes things can enter into the cell, other things can't enter in the cell. So permeability, things can cross that cell membrane, but it is selectively permeable. So sometimes the cell membrane is permeable, sometimes it's impermeable, and we'll see here what the kind of differentiator is. But think of cell membrane as like a fence that nobody can pass through. So it's this big fence that surrounds, is that boundary between the ECF and ICF. But there's sometimes gates that can open and close, which allow things to pass through and other things to not pass through. But and we'll learn what the fence and gates are made out of shortly here in future videos. We're still kind of introing the parts of an animal cell here. This is just kind of touching the surface. We're going to get a lot deeper here soon. But for instance, oxygen and glucose can go into the cell without a problem, and CO2 and waste can be excreted from the cell without a problem. That's easily permeable. So that's a permeable aspect of the cell membrane. CO2 and waste can leave, oxygen and glucose can enter in. But for example, various ions can't enter the cell membrane, and organelles can't leave the cell membrane either. So obviously the cell needs oxygen and glucose to survive and function. So that passes through easily, and it obviously needs to get rid of the CO2 and waste, so it doesn't get backed up, if you will. So that is permeable, where various ions and organelles are impermeable. So aka, like, people that live at the home can enter and exit as they please. That's the CO2, oxygen, glucose, waste. But can also have, or they can enter as they please, but they can also leave their garbage out on garbage night and have it taken away. So the people that enter, let's call it the oxygen and the glucose, where the garbage out on every Tuesday night or whatever it may be, is the carbon dioxide and the waste. So obviously all these functions and processes happen much quicker in the body, but that gives you an idea. So people that live at the house can enter the fence, O2 and glucose, and the CO2 and waste is also permeable, leaving the cell. So that's easily leave the garbage by the street, and the garbage men pick it up there. But we're going to delve much deeper here into the other aspects of the cell. So the cell membrane is the boundary between the ECF and ICF, the extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid. It's kind of just that border. It is selectively permeable, so sometimes things can pass through, other things can't. But on the inside of the cell membrane, everything inside of that membrane there is called the cytoplasm. So the cytoplasm consists of two parts: organelles, which we just mentioned, in the cytosol. So organelles, examples of organelles are mitochondria, nucleus, just different chromosomes, essentially. Vesicles are organelles. Centrioles are organelles, but we're going to discuss these when we really focus in on organelles. But right now we just need to know organelles, pretty much mini organs. So they have a specific structure inside of the cell and specific function inside of the cell too. So when you think of organs, the heart, it's larger, but it has a specific function and specific structure to it. Now on a microscopic level, also inside the cell, there's these organelles that have a specific structure and specific function as well. But we're going to dive deeper into those later on. But right now, we just need to know they're pretty much mini organelles are. So similar to I guess you could think of organelles as a staff of employees at a hotel. So you have the maids, you have the concierge, you have the security employee at the check-in desk. All these organelles have specific functions and specific structures within the cell membrane there, in the cytoplasm it's called. So there's the organelles in the cytoplasm, also the cytosol, which is the fluid that suspends the organelles. So if we're continuing with the employees at the hotel analogy there. Think of it like the all of the air and the surroundings that the hotel and hotel staff and guests breathe in. So it's the fluid that surrounds the organelles and suspends it. It's the air that surrounds all the employees and the guests at the hotel that allows them to breathe and just they can move through it freely at different points. But it's that fluid that suspends the organelle, the air suspends, if you will, the employee, staff, and guests. But it is the cytosol is the fluid that suspends everything inside the cell. So that's the organelles and everything else inside the cell. It keeps it kind of propped up in place, if you will.